It has been 6 months since my father, William Parker, passed away. Some days, it feels like it just happened, the grief fresh and raw. Other days, it feels like a wound that has already scarred over, dull but permanent. I suppose everyone deals with loss in their own way. Some people cry, some people throw themselves into work, and some people, like my sister, Vivian, pretend nothing happened at all. I'm Charlotte Parker, 30 years old. A journalist, though I spend most of my time fact-checking for other people's articles rather than writing my own. I've always been the kind of person who fades into the background, observing rather than leading. That's how it's always been in our family. Vivian shines, and I linger in the shadows. Vivian is 33. The eldest, the favorite, the golden one. If you ask anyone who knew us growing up, they'll tell you she was the perfect daughter. Beautiful, ambitious, charming. She could talk her way out of anything, and she often did. Dad adored her. Not that he didn't love me. He did. But with Vivian, he was different. Indulgent. Forgiving. If she got into trouble at school, he smoothed it over. If she wanted something expensive, he found a way to get it for her. If she made a mistake, he pretended it never happened. I, on the other hand, was expected to be responsible, to do the right thing, to take care of myself. And I did. I worked hard. I got good grades. I didn't ask for much. And yet, somehow, it never seemed to matter as much as Vivian's effortless charm. It didn't bother me when I was younger. I worshipped my sister. I wanted to be just like her. She had this way of making you feel special when she paid attention to you, like you were the most important person in the world. But as I got older, I started to see the cracks in the illusion. Vivian's life was not effortless. It was carefully crafted, maintained by charm, manipulation, and, when necessary, the generosity of others. Generosity like our father's. He always bailed her out. When she maxed out her credit cards. When she dropped out of college and needed money to find herself. When she moved to California and spent 6 months bouncing between jobs before deciding it wasn't for her. When she came home broke, with no plan and no savings, and he paid her rent until she got back on her feet. She never did. But that didn't stop Dad from helping her. And then he got sick. It started with fatigue. He was always tired, always out of breath. He lost weight. At first, he brushed it off, said it was just getting older. But then one day, he collapsed in the kitchen. I took him to the hospital, and the diagnosis was clear: pancreatic cancer. Stage 4. There was nothing they could do except manage the pain. Vivian was devastated. At least, that's what she told everyone. She called me crying when she got the news, swore she would be there for Dad every step of the way. And for a little while, she was. She visited often, brought him gifts, made a show of sitting by his bedside and holding his hand. But after the first month, the visits became less frequent. Then only on weekends. Then only when she needed something. I was the one who took care of him. I was the one who drove him to his treatments, who made sure he ate, who handled the endless stream of medical bills. Vivian? She was busy. Work is just so demanding right now, she would say. Or, I wish I could do more, but you know how it is. And somehow, Dad still made excuses for her. She loves me, he told me once when I asked why she wasn't around more. She just has a lot going on. I wanted to scream. She doesn't care, Dad. She never has. But I didn't. Because he didn't want to hear it. Because, in the end, I think he wanted to believe in her. When he died, I thought Vivian would step up. That she would take care of the arrangements, that she would be by my side. Instead, she let me do everything. You're better at this stuff, she said when I asked if she could help with the funeral planning. You always handle things so well. She said it like it was a compliment. Like she wasn't just dumping everything on me because she didn't want to deal with it. The funeral was small. Dad hadn't wanted anything elaborate, just a simple service at the church he used to take us to when we were kids. Vivian arrived late, swept and wearing designer sunglasses, looking effortlessly grief-stricken. She let people comfort her, let them tell her how strong she was. And when it was over, she was the first to leave. I stayed behind to help clean up. I didn't hear from her again for 2 weeks. Then she called me, her voice bright, casual, as if nothing had happened. "I've been thinking," she said. "It doesn't make sense for us to keep Dad's house." I felt my stomach tighten. "What do you mean?" "I mean, it's too much space for just you. And it's worth a lot of money. We could sell it, split the profit." "No," I said, cutting her off. There was a pause. "Charlie, be reasonable. You can't afford to keep it up on your own. And it's not like you even need all that space." "I'm not selling Dad's house," I said firmly. Another pause. Then a sigh. "Okay," she said lightly. "If that's how you feel." I should have known it wouldn't be that easy. 2 days later, I got a call from Dad's lawyer. Vivian had already started the paperwork to sell the house. And worse? She had power of attorney. I stared at my phone, my hands gripping it so tightly my knuckles turned white. Power of attorney. My mind raced, struggling to process what the lawyer had just told me. Dad had signed over control of his estate to Vivian before he died. Before he got sick, even. And now, with him gone, she was using that power to sell the house out from under me. I called her immediately. She didn't pick up. I called again. And again. Finally, on the 4th attempt, she answered. "Charlie, hi," she said, her voice breezy, as if we were just catching up over coffee. "What's up?" "What the hell, Vivian?" My voice shook with anger. "You started paperwork to sell Dad's house? Without telling me?" There was a pause. Then a sigh. "Look, I was going to tell you," she said, exasperated. "I just figured it would be easier to handle everything myself. You always get so emotional about this stuff." "Emotional?" I repeated, my voice rising. "Vivian, this is Dad's house. It's where he lived, where we grew up. You don't just get to decide to sell it without talking to me." Another sigh. "Charlie, be rational. It's a house. It's not like we can just keep it sitting there forever. You can't afford to maintain it on your own, and I don't want to deal with the hassle. This way, we both get a nice payout and we can move on." I gritted my teeth, my heart hammering in my chest. "Did Dad even know you had power of attorney?" I demanded. "Of course he did," she said quickly. Too quickly. "I mean, he signed the papers, didn't he?" Before he got sick, I shot back. "Did he know what he was signing?" There was a long pause. I could hear her thinking, calculating. "Charlie," she said finally, her voice softer, as if she was trying to soothe me. "I know this is hard for you. But Dad trusted me to take care of things. He wanted me to handle this. He knew you get too attached." I closed my eyes, my nails digging into my palm. That was always her excuse. That I was too sentimental, too emotional, too attached. It was a lie, of course. She didn't want to sell the house because it was practical. She wanted to sell it because she needed the money. I knew Vivian. I knew her spending habits, her impulsiveness. She was always running from something, a bad investment, a maxed-out credit card, a job that didn't work out. And now, she was trying to cash out Dad's legacy to bail herself out. I wasn't going to let her. Underscore 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 underscore. I spent the next few days digging. I called the lawyer again, trying to find a loophole. But the documents were airtight. Dad had given Vivian full control of his estate, which meant she could sell the house with or without my consent. I searched for anything I could use to stop her, but legally, my hands were tied. Emotionally, I wasn't ready to give up. underscore 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 underscore. A week later, I stopped by the house. Vivian was there. I hadn't told her I was coming, and when she opened the door and saw me standing there, her expression flickered, just for a second, with something that almost looked like guilt. Then she smiled as if nothing was wrong. "Charlie," she said brightly. "I was just about to call you." I stepped inside without waiting for an invitation. The house was different. It wasn't home anymore. It had been stripped down, emptied. The furniture was gone. The walls were bare. It felt cold, impersonal, like a house that had already stopped belonging to us. Like a house that had already been sold. I turned to her, my stomach twisting. "When were you going to tell me you'd already found a buyer?" I asked quietly. She blinked, her smile faltering just a little. "Charlie, When? Vivian?" My voice was sharper now. She sighed, crossing her arms. "I didn't want to tell you until everything was finalized. You would have made a big deal about it, and I just wanted to get it done." I laughed, but there was no humor in it. "You mean you didn't want to give me a chance to stop you?" She rolled her eyes. "It's a house, Charlie. We both get money and we both move on. What's the problem?" "The problem," I said, stepping closer, "is that Dad didn't want this. He wanted us to keep this house in the family. And the only reason you're selling it is because you need the money." Her jaw tightened. I hit a nerve. "I don't need anything from you," she snapped. "I'm doing what's best for both of us." I shook my head. "No, you're doing what's best for you. You always have." She exhaled sharply, rubbing her temples. "I don't have time for this, Charlie." "Yeah?" I shot back. "Because you're too busy stealing from Dad's estate?" Her head snapped up, her eyes narrowing. "What the hell is that supposed to mean?" I pulled my phone out of my pocket and held up the screen. It was a bank statement. From Dad's account. Or at least, what used to be Dad's account. There was barely anything left. Thousands of dollars had been withdrawn over the past few months. All by Vivian. Her face paled. "Where did the money go, Viv?" I asked, my voice dangerously calm. She swallowed hard, but recovered quickly, forcing a laugh. "You're being ridiculous." "Am I?" I tilted my head. "Because it looks to me like you drained our father's savings before he even died." Silence. Then, she scoffed. "Don't be so dramatic, Charlie. It was a loan. I was going to put it back." I felt something snap inside me. "A loan." My voice rose. "Dad was dying, Vivian. And you stole from him?" She crossed her arms, her expression defiant. "He wouldn't have wanted me to struggle. And you know what? He would have given it to me if I had asked. So what difference does it make?" I took a step closer. "The difference," I said through gritted teeth, "is that you didn't ask. You took. Because you knew if he saw how much you needed, it would break his heart." She flinched. Just for a second. Then her expression hardened. "This is pointless. The house is already sold. You can be mad all you want, but it's done." I stared at her, my whole body shaking with anger. She had taken everything. Dad's money. Dad's house. Dad's trust. And now, she expected me to let her get away with it. I turned away, my heart pounding. She thought it was over. She thought she had won. But she was wrong. Because I wasn't done yet. I didn't go home after that. I didn't want to sit in my apartment, stewing in my anger. Instead, I drove. No destination, no real purpose, just the need to move. Vivian's words echoed in my head. "The house is already sold. The money is mine, and there's nothing you can do about it." That was where she was wrong. There was always something I could do. I pulled into an empty parking lot and took out my phone. My hands were shaking as I scrolled through my emails, searching for the one from Dad's lawyer. There. I opened the attachment, the power of attorney document. The paper that had given Vivian complete control over Dad's finances, his estate, his assets. I skimmed through it, my mind racing. Vivian had controlled everything. She had had access to his bank accounts. She had signed off on medical expenses, insurance paperwork, even utility bills. And she had done it all months before he died. I checked the date. 9 months before his death. That meant she had started taking control before he even got his diagnosis. A cold knot formed in my stomach. She had planned this. This wasn't just impulse. This wasn't just Vivian being irresponsible. She had known. She had waited. And the second she had the opportunity, she had taken everything. Underscore 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 underscore. I didn't sleep that night. I sat in my apartment, documents spread out on my kitchen table, combing through every bank statement, every transaction, every financial record I could find. And that was when I saw it. A check, signed by Vivian, made out to herself, for $50,000, dated 1 week before Dad passed away. My breath caught in my throat. I stared at the paper, willing it to be a mistake. But it wasn't. Vivian had written herself a check, signed under Dad's name. But the signature, it wasn't his. It was hers. She had forged it. I felt my hands clench into fists. This wasn't just manipulation. This wasn't just greed. This was fraud. Underscore 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 underscore. I was in the lawyer's office by 9 the next morning. I need you to look at something, I said, placing the check in front of him. He frowned, adjusting his glasses. Where did you find this? It was in the bank records, I said, my voice tight. She wrote this check to herself. And that signature? It's not his. The lawyer studied it for a moment, his frown deepening. If this is forged, that's a serious criminal offense. I exhaled sharply. Can we prove it? He hesitated. We'd need a handwriting expert to verify the signature. But if it's fake, then yes, we can take this to court. I nodded, my heart pounding. And if we can prove it? I pressed. Then the house sale can be stopped, he said. And Vivian will be in legal trouble. Serious trouble. I sat back in my chair, my pulse racing. This was it. The leverage I needed. I wasn't just going to stop her. I was going to take her down. Underscore 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 underscore. I drove straight to the house. Vivian had taken everything from Dad. I parked in the driveway and slammed the car door behind me. I didn't bother knocking, I walked right in. Vivian was in the kitchen, drinking coffee like she didn't have a care in the world. When she saw me, she sighed dramatically. Oh God, what now? She groaned. I tossed the check onto the counter in front of her. Her eyes flickered down, and for a split second, just a fraction of a second, her mask slipped. She recovered quickly, picking it up with exaggerated boredom. "What am I looking at?" she said, sipping her coffee. "Your mistake," I said coldly. "You forged Dad's signature." She blinked, then laughed. "Oh, please. That's ridiculous." I took a step closer. "It's a felony, Vivian," I said, my voice sharp. "You stole $50,000 right before he died. That's fraud. That's forgery. You could go to prison for this." Her grip on the check tightened. "You can't prove anything," she said, but her voice wavered just slightly. I smiled grimly. "Actually, I can. A handwriting expert will confirm it's not his signature. And once they do, the house sale is void." Vivian's jaw clenched. For the first time, she looked nervous. "You wouldn't," she whispered. I met her gaze. "Watch me." Silence. Then, something flickered in her eyes. Something desperate. She took a slow breath, setting her coffee down. "Fine," she said smoothly. "You want to play this game? Let's play." I frowned. "What are you talking about?" She leaned forward, her smile razor-sharp. "You think you're the only one who can manipulate people, Charlotte," she murmured. "I've been doing this my whole life." A chill ran down my spine. "I can turn this around," she continued. "I can make you look like the problem. I can tell people you're bitter, that you're lying, that you've always been jealous of me. Who do you think they'll believe?" I clenched my jaw. She was right. She had always been the golden one, the charming one, the one people adored. And me? I was the quiet one, the responsible one, the one nobody ever noticed. She smirked. "Face it, Charlotte. No one will believe you." I took a deep breath. And then I smiled. "You're right," I said lightly. Vivian's smirk widened until I pulled out my phone and pressed play. Her voice rang out through the speaker. "You think you're the only one who can manipulate people, Charlotte? I've been doing this my whole life." Vivian went rigid. I watched as the color drained from her face. "You," she choked out. "I recorded everything," I said, pocketing my phone. "The check, the confession, the fact that you just admitted to fraud." She stared at me, her mouth opening and closing. "And then?" She laughed. A bitter, humorless laugh. "Well," she said, "guess I underestimated you." I stepped back. "Yeah," I said quietly. "You did." She exhaled sharply, running a hand through her hair. For the first time, she looked defeated. I turned to leave. "You have 24 hours to stop the sale," I called over my shoulder. "Or I take this to the police." I didn't wait for her response. I walked out of the house, my heart pounding. For the first time, I had the upper hand. And I wasn't afraid to use it. I barely made it back to my car before my hands started shaking. Not from fear. Not from doubt. But from the sheer, overwhelming adrenaline. For the first time in my life, Vivian was cornered. She knew it. I knew it. And now, all I had to do was wait. Underscore 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 underscore. I didn't hear from her for hours. Then, around midnight, my phone buzzed. "Vivian." I let it ring. Then it rang again. And again. Finally, I picked up. She didn't waste time on pleasantries. "You really think you've won, don't you?" I leaned back against my kitchen counter, gripping my phone tightly. "I don't think, Vivian." "I know." Silence. Then she exhaled sharply. "What do you want?" I smiled to myself. There it was. The moment she realized she was powerless. "You're going to cancel the sale," I said, my voice calm. "Tomorrow morning. You're going to call your lawyer and tell him you've changed your mind." Vivian let out a bitter laugh. "And if I don't?" "You already know the answer to that." I heard her breathing on the other end of the line, fast and uneven. Jesus Christ, she muttered. You've really turned into a heartless bitch, haven't you? My grip tightened on the phone, but I forced myself to stay calm. You did this to yourself, Viv, I said simply. Now fix it. I hung up before she could respond. Underscore 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 underscore. The next morning, I woke up to an email from Dad's lawyer. The house sale had been withdrawn. Just like that, it was over. I should have felt relief. But I didn't. Because Vivian never gave up that easily. Underscore 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 underscore. That afternoon, I went back to the house. It still felt strange being there without Dad, but for the first time in months, it felt safe. Like it belonged again. I stepped inside, running my fingers along the wooden banister. The house had always been well kept, but there was an emptiness now, a quiet absence that I wasn't sure would ever go away. I made my way to Dad's study. It still smelled like him, faintly of old books, leather, and the peppermint tea he used to drink. I sat at his desk and opened the bottom drawer, expecting to find old paperwork or notebooks. Instead, I found a letter. My name was written on the front in Dad's careful handwriting. My heart pounded as I unfolded it. Charlotte, if you're reading this, then I'm gone. And I hope that, by now, you've found a way to make peace with everything that's happened. I know things with your sister have never been easy. I know she takes and takes, and I know I never did enough to stop her. Maybe that was my mistake. Maybe I thought, if I kept helping her, she would finally learn to stand on her own. But I know now that's not how life works. Some people don't change. Some people don't want to. I didn't leave you the house because I thought you needed it. I left it to you because I knew you would protect it. I knew you would protect the things that mattered, even when no one else would. You have always been stronger than you think. Stronger than I ever was. I am proud of you, my girl. I always have been. And I always will be. Dad. I pressed the letter against my chest, my throat tightening. For so many years, I had felt invisible. Like Vivian was the only one who mattered. Like no one ever saw me. But Dad had seen me. He had always seen me. And he had trusted me to do what he couldn't. Underscore 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 underscore. I left the house feeling lighter than I had in months. Vivian had lost. The house was mine, but I knew deep down that she wouldn't just disappear. And I was right. Underscore 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 underscore. That night, she showed up at my apartment. I heard the banging on my door before I even looked at the peephole. I should have ignored it. I should have just let her scream into the void. but something in me wanted to see her one last time. I pulled the door open. Vivian was standing there, wild-eyed, her face red with rage. "You think this is over?" she hissed. I crossed my arms, leaning against the doorframe. "I know it is." She let out a sharp, humorless laugh. "You've always been so goddamn self-righteous, Charlotte. Acting like you're better than me. Acting like you're the only one who actually cared about Dad." I said nothing. She took a step closer. "Do you know what really pisses me off? The fact that you actually think you deserve this. You think Dad gave you the house because you were his precious little angel." She scoffed. "He gave it to you because he felt sorry for you." I clenched my jaw. "You're wrong." "Am I?" She smirked. "He knew you'd never do anything with your life. That's why he gave you the house. Because he knew you'd always be the boring little nobody sitting in the background." I should have been angry, but I wasn't. Because I saw her now. I saw her for what she really was. Bitter, jealous, empty. She had spent her whole life believing she was better, that she deserved more, just because she was Vivian. And now? Now she had nothing. No money, no house, no power. She must have seen it on my face, the realization that she didn't matter anymore. Because her smirk wavered. And for the first time, she looked small. I took a deep breath. "Leave, Vivian." She opened her mouth, but I cut her off. "This is over," I said firmly. "You can't manipulate your way out of this one. You can't lie, you can't steal, and you can't win." Silence. Then, softly, she whispered, "You'll regret this." I shook my head. "No," I said. "I won't." She stared at me for a long moment. Then, without another word, she turned and walked away. Underscore 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 underscore. The next morning, I got a call from Dad's lawyer. "The case against Vivian is moving forward," he said. "They're officially investigating her for fraud." I exhaled, closing my eyes. It was finally happening. For the first time in her life, Vivian was going to face real consequences. And I was finally free. The news of the investigation spread faster than I expected. I had barely finished my morning coffee when my phone buzzed, Dad's lawyer again. "They've subpoenaed the bank records," he said. "They're looking into every transaction she made under your father's name." I nodded, gripping my mug. And it doesn't look good for her. Good. It was about time. Underscore 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 underscore. I spent the next few weeks in a strange kind of limbo. Vivian disappeared. No calls, no messages, no surprise visits filled with venom and entitlement. She was gone. At first, I assumed she was hiding, waiting for the storm to pass. But then I started hearing things. She had tried to run. She had drained what little was left of her personal savings, booked a flight to another state, and planned to disappear before the legal process caught up with her. But she had made one mistake. She hadn't realized that, once the investigation was opened, her bank accounts were being monitored. The police caught her at the airport. She was detained before she even made it through security. And just like that, it was over. underscore 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 underscore. The trial came quickly. I sat in the courtroom, listening as the charges were read. Fraud, forgery, embezzlement. Vivian sat at the defense table, wearing a tailored black dress and the same vacant expression she had always worn whenever she was playing the victim. She barely looked at me. She barely looked at anyone. For once in her life, she had nothing to say. And this time, no one was listening to her excuses. No one was coming to save her. Underscore 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 underscore. The verdict was inevitable. Guilty. The judge's voice rang through the courtroom, final and absolute. Vivian let out a sharp breath, but she didn't cry. She didn't scream. She just sat there, staring straight ahead, as if she had finally realized that there was no way out of this. She was sentenced to 3 years. It wasn't much, but it was enough. Enough to prove that she wasn't untouchable. Enough to show her that her charm, her manipulation, her endless ability to twist reality, none of it mattered anymore. Enough to make her pay for what she had done. Underscore 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 underscore. After the trial, I walked out of the courthouse into the crisp autumn air. Laura was waiting for me on the steps. She smiled when she saw me. "It's done." I nodded. She studied my face. "How do you feel?" I thought about it. For months, I had been carrying this weight. The anger, the betrayal, the grief. It had consumed me, driven me forward, made me fight for justice when I wanted to disappear. But now it was gone. Now I could finally breathe. I exhaled, closing my eyes for a moment. And then I smiled. I feel free. Underscore 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 underscore. The house was mine now. Legally. Officially. I moved in the following week. At first, it was strange, walking through the empty rooms, feeling Dad's presence everywhere. But it wasn't sad anymore. It wasn't haunted. It was just home. I spent my first night sitting on the back porch, watching the sun set behind the trees. It was quiet, peaceful, and for the first time in a long, long time, I wasn't waiting for the next fight. I wasn't waiting for the next betrayal, the next disaster, the next time Vivian would come and rip something away from me. She was gone. And she wasn't coming back. Underscore 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 underscore. A few days later, I found another letter from Dad. It was tucked away in his desk, buried under old receipts and forgotten paperwork. I unfolded it carefully, my heart pounding. Charlotte, I don't know when you'll find this, but if you're reading it, then I need you to know something. You have always been the strongest person I know. I don't know what will happen with your sister. I don't know if she'll ever change. But I do know this: you don't need to carry the burden of fixing her. That was never your responsibility. You have your own life to live, your own happiness to chase. Don't let her steal that from you. Don't let anyone steal that from you. You deserve more than that. You deserve peace. I love you. Always. Tears welled in my eyes. For so long, I had felt like it was my job to hold everything together. To be the one who fixed things. To be the one who made sure everything was okay. But I didn't have to do that anymore. I didn't have to fight anymore. Dad had already given me the one thing Vivian never could. Peace. Underscore 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 underscore. Underscore 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 underscore. One evening, as I stood in the backyard, I looked up at the sky. The stars were bright. The air was cool. And for the first time in years, I felt light. I smiled, closing my eyes. Rest now, Dad, I whispered. And somehow I knew he finally could. And so could I,